In the slum tenements of Mumbai, many of them virus hotspots and containment zones, women have struggled to get access to healthcare. Pregnant women have had to walk from hospital to hospital in vain, and women who need an abortion have had to compromise. For Aparna Hegde, a urogynecologist who studied at Stanford till she returned to work at the Kama Hospital, a public hospital in Mumbai, this is life pushing her towards her real purpose, setting up virtual OPDs to get doctors to women who need them most. This has become her life's mission. As a frontline COVID soldier, her NGO Arman has helped millions of women across the country. Joining me today on Conversations for Change is the doctor who is risking her life to help bringing new lives into the world. So Aparna, let's talk about something that almost no one is talking about. What has happened to women in the period of this lockdown? In particular, what has happened to pregnant women, women who may be wanting an abortion, and women who find that there's almost no access to reproductive health mechanisms at all. I know that you've been spending some time working in the bastis of Mumbai, where poor women in particular are unable to access medical help. So tell us a little bit about what you've been seeing in the slum tenements of Mumbai.
So what we've been seeing in the slum tenements is that the lockdown was announced very suddenly, and women did not have time to, access care or make preparations to access care during pregnancy. Now, pregnancy and infancy can't wait for a lockdown. If you have an emergency, if you need to have an ultrasound, you need it immediately. You can't wait for the lockdown to be lifted. Unfortunately, the hospitals that they access care in were closed down. Many hospitals become COVID hospitals. They had no idea about which hospital to go to and not to go to. Secondly, there was no public transport. So there were instances of women walking kilometers to go to another hospital just to be told that the service is not available to go another place. So they've been running from hospital to hospital before they could access care. And sometimes it was too late, right? So this is something that I saw repeatedly. Another thing was that, most of these women in the bastis are involved in informal work, right? So their access to, income was completely drastically reduced. So they didn't have access to their regular income, they didn't have access to good nutrition, and no access to care during emergency services and regular care during antenatal period.
Can you tell us the most moving sort of story that you encountered? I know because I went into some of these bastis with you that we are talking about abjectly poor women. We are talking about women who sometimes walked, as you said, kilometers from hospital to hospital. So this wasn't or hasn't just been happening with COVID patients. This has been happening with women sometimes 3 months pregnant, sometimes 6 months pregnant, unable to get an ultrasound, unable to get a doctor to attend to them. So what's the most moving thing that's happened that's really stayed with you?
Yeah, so, I actually went to visit her home, and this is in Ray Road in Mumbai. This is a woman who actually living in a really small one room, and not only 5 feet by 5 feet square feet room on the top of a one-story building, and absolutely no access to care, twin pregnancy. She went into preterm labor, had bleeding, right? It was, she walked all the way to Sion Hospital, was told to come back later on, goes back home, right? Starts leaking, correct? And then absolutely no access to care. Again, goes back to the hospital, is again told that no, now it's not time enough for you to come. At the emergency services itself, was sent back again. And then she immediately was told about our virtual OPD, happened to call us. And, she couldn't access ambulance in time. So our staff kind of helped arrange for an ambulance. And luckily, in the nick of time, she was taken to the hospital, and she delivered, and the babies, but were born preterm. And unfortunately, because she didn't have access to even 100 rupees, she had been told that the babies had to be in the ICU, in the transitional care unit for a month. She did not have access to money to be able to afford that, had to come back home.
So heartbreaking, but at the same time uplifting, because, tell our viewers, people listening to this Conversations for Change, how you've been using technology to create virtual OPDs where women can access this care then.
Yes, so I'm the founder of an NGO called Arman that leverages technology to create scalable solutions. We work in 16 states in India. And so when the lockdown was announced, we, got news from the field about how women were not getting access to care. And we realized that we have a call center manned by call centers, counselors, but we need now doctors to come in and provide access to care to women who do not have access to normal services. So we started a virtual OPD overnight. We have around 60 doctors, both obstetricians and pediatricians, manning the services. Women can call in for any kind of care they need, whether regular care that, small care points that they can follow at home, right? And not need to go to the hospital, or sometimes an emergency and they need to, immediately rush to the hospital and they are validated by the doctor on the call. So we have from morning 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. antenatal care services, and 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. pediatric care services. And that's been running since the last 2.5 months of the lockdown.
And I know that you've been personally going into these bastis, areas that people will not go into because they're densely populated, because they've been declared these red zones, virus dead zones. What makes somebody like you do something like this and take that risk and be a frontline COVID warrior?
I'm always aware of my privilege. I'm a middle class woman, had access to education. I was born where I was, and that's why I had access to all that I have. And it's extremely difficult for me to see women who do not have the benefit of the same accident of birth, suffer the way they are, right? And so it's extremely important that, what else can you do, right? I mean, the only way I can be useful at this time is to work in Kama Hospital in the COVID ward, and also go to the bastis and ensure that women who can't come to me get services at home. So that's why, I actually have found purpose, I mean, this is one time where my service as a doctor and as a founder of the NGO have actually come together. And COVID has really given me added purpose to be able to go there and work and help the women we serve.
But the data tells us some shocking realities. It's a reality check. And actually, even as a journalist and as a feminist, even I am only just discovering this data. So first, let's talk about, we've spoken about pregnancies, but let's also talk about unwanted pregnancies. So I know that the data tells us that lakhs of women have not been able to actually get access to an abortion. So what does the data tell us?
So IFAS Foundation did a modeling based on some survey they did in around 8 states. And they found that around 1.85 million women, that's a huge number, haven't had access to abortion that they need. Right?
Wow.
And also if you look at
1.85 million Indian women basically means have had to go through a pregnancy that they did not want to go through.
Unintended pregnancy, or they may have undergone unsafe abortion. That's even worse. And then that can lead to maternal mortality, So you can imagine the lack of access to services because of the fact that village health and nutrition days in the villages of India have stopped, correct? And that's why they don't have access to services.
Yeah. And when you speak about maternal mortality, and that number still sinking in, 1.85 million Indian women had a compromised abortion, could not get access to abortion. But when you speak about maternal mortality, we've seen in other pandemics, typically a pandemic leads to an increase in maternal mortality. What are the numbers telling you?
Now the study that has come in the Lancet Global Health, a commentary from India, from Western India, 4 tertiary hospitals, they clearly show that during the 10-week lockdown period, as compared to the 10-week period just before the lockdown, there has been 40% reduction in hospitalization during pregnancy, 67% reduction in emergency referrals, 67% reduction in emergency referrals, leading to increased maternal mortality and child mortality. Can you put this simply? Because when we see percentages, we don't actually think of real people. Basically, we're saying many more Indian women have died are dying in this period of this pandemic and lockdown just because of being unable to access healthcare. Absolutely. If earlier two women out of 100 are dying, we're dying. Now 3 out of 100 are dying during the COVID time. Only these 10 weeks. Right. And I mean, and it's just the immediate 10-week period, the consequences of not having access to emergency care during pregnancy is going to lead to even more mortalities in the next few months.
How are women suffering more, or in a unique way? Because as Melinda Gates said, the pandemic is gender blind, but it is not gender neutral.
No, it is not gender neutral. So women are suffering because 2 ways, right? They are the primary caregivers, right? And the caregiving has tremendously increased, right? If you fall ill of COVID, the woman in the house looks after you. If children fall ill, the women look after you, right? So there's generally 2 hours more than men is what they spend on caregiving, and that's tremendously increased. Secondly, their access to work and income has reduced because 70% women take part in informal work, and that's not available now. Then access to care, right? I mean, pregnancy and infancy are two periods in a woman's life that really differentiates them from men. Men do not need access to this kind of emergency care that women need, right? So your access, your mortality rates, right, and even access to contraception.
Mm.
You know, if you look at the contraception numbers, right, 25 million couples haven't had access to contraception.
25 million
Couples in this 10-week lockdown
Wow.
period. That means
Wow.
it's a woman going through, the unintended consequence of not having access to contraception, right? She has to bear an unintended pregnancy. She's the one who suffers through the whole process. Lack of access to nutrition. She's just the one who suffers from maternal mortality, right? So, the consequences of women are far more than men. And if you look at even domestic violence numbers, right?
Yeah.
Women, there has been a Population Council of India study has shown 1/4 of the participants in their survey in 5 states reported domestic violence because access to support systems are not available. There's no access to support systems. Also, the regular, social organizations that provide those services have not been supported during the lockdown.
And talk a little bit about being a doctor in a labor ward at a time like this. I remember you used a phrase for it when we met in Mumbai. You said it's like Russian roulette. Explain that.
Yeah. It's like Russian roulette for us because, pregnancy can't wait for a report, correct? When a woman comes in emergency or labor, you have to take care of her. You have to deliver her. So you can't wait for the report. So a report comes 2 days later. By then she's delivering in front of you, and delivery is a messy affair, right? She's crying. There's aerosols coming out of her. The doctors and nurses all around her. You're exposed to her. So no matter how many PPEs you wear, the mask, etc., you get soaked in blood, often. And so it's like Russian roulette. You do not know which patient is going to end up making you positive because of the fact that you tended for her. So doctors who go to labor wards since last, so many months have been daily exposed to the virus, And if you look at even the numbers, if you look at the mortality rates, gynecologists come literally third in the professions of the medical field which have been exposed to mortality because of coronavirus.
And then I must ask you again, what makes you do it? What makes you do it?
Because I'm just doing what I'm trained for. I don't like to be called a hero because this is what we've been trained for, right? If we can't come out and go to the front line at a time when the world needs us, then we are not doing what we took the Hippocratic Oath for, right? This is when our value as a doctor, our purpose as a doctor becomes more refined. We come close to it and understand what it means to, become a doctor, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I have not felt more useful to the humanity than what I have felt in the last 10 weeks of the lockdown.
Finally, since this is Conversations for Change, what's the one thing specifically, not just attitudinally, that needs to change in our understanding of what women are going through, what doctors like yourselves, nurses, what women everywhere are going through in this pandemic? What's the one thing that needs to change?
The one thing that needs to change is that in the disaster development plan of India or any country in the world, women's concerns have to be included, right? There has to be the gender neutrality has to go away. We have to have gender specific lens, understand the specific groups like pregnant women suffer inordinately more when there are disasters and crises like this, include them in decision making, include them in the relief activities, and make special provisions for such women. Because unless you do that, women, not only women are going to suffer because they are the caregivers. They are at the front line of giving care also. If you look at the healthcare force in the country, 70% of ANMs, of healthcare force is women, right? All ASHA workers, all auxiliary midwives are women. So take care of the women and the country will do better.
Aparna Hegde, more power to you. Keep soldiering on. Thank you so much for joining us on Conversations for Change on We the Women. Thank you.
Thank you so much.